Is serving a custodial sentence for his multiple counts of rape and sexual misconduct. The boy pleaded guilty for raping the same boy 15 times, as well as 3 charges of inappropriate sexual touching. Reports
I see why he earned that title, the youngest sex offender in the country. What's happening, peoples? It's your boy Blaze here with another one for Venomous Reactions, and today we got something coming from Top Trending, and it's called The Youngest Kids Who Were Sentenced to Prison. Yeah, that title just pretty much says it all. Like, especially with this younger generation that's coming up, whew, that definitely says everything. Like, you see young kids out here nowadays. All I want to do is just like go back to how childhood was for me. Like it was much more simpler and much more fun. Nowadays it's just insane. And with young kids being sentenced to prison, I, I can't even wrap my mind around that perspective. So we're gonna see what Top Trending is gonna say about this one, and whew, it's gonna be one hell of a doozy. So without further ado, let's go.
kids can be pretty awful, but these tykes take bad girl and bad boy to a whole other level. Check out our
Whew.
top 10 most horrible crimes committed by children.
The Bathtub Girls.
Aren't Canadians supposed to be nice? I guess Sandra and Beth Anderson of Mississauga, Ontario are the exception. In 2003, the sisters, who were 15 and 16 at the time, were charged for murder when they killed their mother by feeding her copious amounts of Tylenol and booze and then drowning her in a bathtub. The girls actually got away with it for about a year until their neighbor came forward with evidence that this wasn't an accidental death, but a previously
Okay, so they killed their mother by giving her Tylenol and booze, and then drowning her in the bathtub. And you honestly thought you was gonna get away with that? The fact that they haven't caught you in about a year, that is the most shocking. Oh my god.
planned and thoroughly thought out murder. If you listen to the 911 call that they made as a way to stage the incident as accidental, you'll hear the operator telling them to give CPR, but the girls aren't following through. By the time the ambulance arrived, she was dead. Apparently, the 2 girls were fed up with their mom, who worked 2 jobs and struggled with alcoholism, being unable to give them the expensive things they wanted. Police found out later that their internet search history showed research on how much money you would get if your mom died. They discovered they'd each get $68,000, which they could put toward their wishes, like a European vacation,
That is a definite red flag. Like you see in their search history that you get a whole lot more if a parent dies. Like that should automatically raise some eyebrows. And no matter how much you try to hide your search history, oh, they can retrieve it. They can retrieve it because the way technology is evolving, oh, you definitely can't hide it.
a marijuana farm, and a nice house. After they gave their mom the codeine spiked beverage, they alerted their peers on social media about the process of the murder, to which one of their twisted friends responded, "Good luck, wear gloves." Most of their friends agreed to keep it a secret, but Beth, the youngest of the 2, kept bragging about how she killed her mom at parties and school events. This led to the police approaching
When you
one of her
brag
friends
about
to
it,
wear a wire
you're
to
just
record her
asking to get
confessing.
caught.
The girls spent 4 years in jail before being let off early on parole. They have new names and completely new lives. There was even a movie called Perfect Sisters depicting their story. Let's hope that they're not getting any profits from the ticket sales.
For real. The youngest sex offender in the country.
An 11-year-old boy from Britain, whose name can't be mentioned due to legal purposes, is serving a custodial sentence for his multiple counts of rape and sexual misconduct. The boy pleaded guilty for raping the same boy 15 times, as well as 3 charges of inappropriate sexual touching. Reports
I see why he earned that title, the youngest sex offender in the country. You're 11 years old and you're basically committing forcible sexual acts on the same board 15 times? Yo, this is straight out of a SVU episode. Dead ass. Like, I,
Say that on May 29, 2016, the boy accused was playing with a 7-year-old boy in his bedroom when his stepmother heard whispering over the baby monitor. Suspicious as to what could possibly be going on, she investigated, only to find the 11-year-old raping her stepson. The defendant immediately said, "I'm sorry, I don't know why I did it." The victim told the police that he had been raped every single time they played together and was told to keep it a secret. The defendant was put on bail, after which he
wow.
touched a disabled 11-year-old boy over his trousers. When he was accused a second time, the boy again showed remorse and seemed sorry for what he had done. He said that he too was raped as a child and was still working through that. As of right now, he's the youngest sex offender in Britain. You kind of feel sorry for him, but he really needs to pay for his actions.
Yeah, when it comes to like being a sex offender, no matter what the age, like even if you're the slightest bit remorseful, you gotta answer for your crimes. You gotta answer for the crimes committed. You gotta answer for all the actions you take. You take. mm, You gotta answer for all types of actions in your life. And whew, the fact that he was tried like an adult, damn, that just lets me know this world is jacked up. Brenda Spencer.
Every teenager hates Mondays, but 16-year-old Brenda
Who does?
Spencer apparently
Who
hated them enough
who
to end
doesn't hate
lives. At
Mondays?
about 8:30 in the morning on a Monday in 1979, Brenda had the hunch to kill. The elementary school across from her house was just going into session with kids getting dropped off by their parents. She took a few shots from her sniper, which her dad gifted her for her birthday, complete with 400 rounds of ammunition. She shot at a couple of kids, wounding them. It took
How?
a couple of seconds before the adults on campus knew what was happening. The school's principal, Burton Ragg, ran outside, helping terrified children into the school. Him and the school's custodian, Mike Sakar, were unfortunately shot dead in the frenzy. Miss Spencer ended up killing 2
Sheesh.
people and wounding 9 others, and was charged with 2 counts of murder. Her attorney tried to get her off on a plea of insanity, but that didn't work, and she's now serving 25 to life.
Yeah, when you committed mass murder and yeah, you try to go for the whole psych defense, it normally doesn't pan out. Like, look at the past cases that tried to use the psych defense and failed. Like 25 to life. Whew, yeah, you might as well make Concrete Paradise your new home. I'm sorry.
People claim that her parents' divorce was the cause of her misconduct. They said that something died in her after the split, especially since her and her siblings were sent to live with their distant abusive father. She started to become interested in
Damn.
guns and metal bands like Alice Cooper. Brenda was given a parole hearing in 2005 but was unfortunately denied. She said in a TV interview that she was
Sounds
high
about
on
right.
angel dust and pot when she committed the crime, but the toxicology reports say otherwise. She'll get another hearing in 2019 for potential parole. It's no surprise that she blames herself for the
I
recent
I
school
doubt
shootings,
I
considering she
doubt she'll
orchestrated
get
one of the
that.
first ones in recent history.
The Xbox Underground.
It's a bit of an odd career choice. 4 teenage Xbox players had their goals in sight as becoming professional hackers when they managed to hack into Microsoft, Epic Games, Valve, Zombie Studios, and the US Army. The 4 boys from various parts of the US and Canada managed to connect through their gaming networks online. The team allegedly used SQL injections as well as stolen passwords and usernames. The theft included software related to Microsoft's Xbox One gaming
Wow.
console and the Xbox Live gaming system. They also somehow swiped files containing data for unreleased games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 and Gears of War. What's really crazy though is that they also hacked into the US Army's databases and stole their helicopter pilot training software. The total
Yo, that's a new level of hacking right there. Like, if you're able to act, if you're able to get access into the U.S. Army database, whoo, yo, that just takes savagery to a whole new level. But yo, you going into like government related like facility facilities and ugh, getting into the database. Oh, mm, no holds barred with the punishment. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they gonna get some time tacked on because it's government. U.S. Army, government. Need I say more?
Property stolen is estimated to be between 100 and 200 million dollars. The four boys were caught
Damn!
at the border when David Pecora, the Canadian of the bunch, and his dad were taking a trip to the States. He was taken into custody by the border guards and was told that it'll be a long time before he gets to return to Canada. The four boys will
Ooh.
face up to 5 years in prison.
I see that. Eric Miller.
Eric Miller, a chubby, nerdish kid from New York State, was only 13 when he killed 4-year-old Derek Robbie out in the woods. On August 2nd, 1993, the young defendant was out on his bike when he came across Derek, walking by himself to a nearby summer camp. Eric managed to lure him into the woods, where he tortured and killed him. He dropped 2 large rocks on the 4-year-old's head and then strangled him to death. He then stuck a stick up the child's rear opening in an attempt to bash his heart so it'll stop beating. He then took out a red Kool-Aid drink from Derek's bag and poured it onto his wounds. Eric came home that day totally calm, as if nothing had happened. The police eventually found out though, and on August 16th of the following year, Eric was charged with second-degree murder and sentenced to the maximum term for juveniles at the time, which was 9 years to life. Eric has been given a parole hearing every 2 years, but hasn't been let out since. When asked by the judge why he did it, he said, "Because instead of me being hurt, I was hurting someone else."
Yeah, those type of people you gotta watch out for.
Amarjit Sadha of India killed probably more people than the average serial killer, and he's only 8. This is hard to believe, but this killer's second victim was his own sister, and his parents ended up covering it up in order to protect their son's freedoms. His third victim was a 6-month-old baby, whom he took from a neighboring house and then bashed with a brick until the baby stopped breathing.
You know, this is like uncomfortable to watch and uncomfortable to listen to. Like, you hear someone that's 8 years old, and one of his victims is a 6-month-old baby that he took a brick and pretty much just bashed it over the baby. Like, the baby's bones they haven't even fully developed yet, so it's easier to crush the bones of an infant, especially with the bones still in the development stage. Like, whoo, whoo, the information I'm getting from this, yeah, this is gonna give me nightmares for the rest of the night.
Police eventually connected the boy's recent killing with the killing of his own sister. When he was asked why he did these gruesome things, he simply smiled and asked for a cookie. His parents said that he doesn't understand right from wrong. A psychologist discovered that Amarjit had a chemical imbalance in his brain that caused him to express conduct disorder, which is a mental disorder where the sufferer doesn't understand morals. The data is foggy, but he allegedly spent about 3 years in either a prison or a mental institution. He's now reportedly a free agent, walking around with a new name and identity.
How? I mean, I get the fact that the chemical imbalance that could affect your critical thinking and the lack of understanding of any type of morals and repercussions and everything, but you still let them go free. Like, there should be like some monitoring or something, like mandatory monitoring, just so that type of episode doesn't happen again. I mean, maybe he did get it, but even still, it can return if you don't have the proper treatment. What are these people thinking, bro?
One British teen did the unthinkable. At only 15 years old, Daniel Bartlam killed his own mother in a gruesome horror movie-like display. The whole thing was spurred on by a fight they were having at home. She called him a freak, and then something came over Daniel, and he began to hit his mother with a hammer, bashing in her skull. He then wrapped her in paper, covered her in gasoline, and set her on fire. He initially claimed that an intruder came in and killed his mother, but the police found a written-out soap opera plot on his computer that describes a killer bashing someone in with a hammer and then leaving them on the train tracks to die. It was also discovered that Daniel watched the film Saw just hours before killing his mother. At the hearing, Daniel claimed that there were voices in his head that were telling him to kill, and that he was having visions of doing these things against his will.
Yeah, whenever they have thoughts like that, you gotta get them.
Mary Bell was born in 1957 into a poor Liverpool family. She wasn't exactly raised properly. Her mother was a prostitute who was an alcoholic and rarely ever home. Reports say that her mother would often force Mary into prostitution even though she was just a young girl. She also tried to kill her daughter multiple times. Mary was a rambunctious, troubled little kid. She oftentimes would do things like burn kids in her class with cigarettes or hold them down and fill their mouths with sand. Mary's first official killing was when she strangled 4-year-old Martin Brown in an abandoned house. That same summer, Brian Howe was found in a garbage dump with an M carved on his chest, which seemingly stands for Mary.
Yo, this girl, Mary Bell, is insane. Okay, it's bad enough that she basically turned into like I guess you could say like an acclaimed strangler. But for her mom to force her into prostitution, that could change your mental like ASAP. And and, and parents don't understand like what you instill in your kids often often comes to light. If you instill some good into them, I mean, of course, they're gonna be some. They're gonna be something that society can be proud of. If you instill like mainly negative, well, y'all see from this video how that's turning out. Like, what the fuck?
This wasn't enough to spur on a full-on investigation, though, and it wasn't until Mary and her partner in crime, Norma, left confession notes at a nearby nursery that they were brought in for questioning. When the detective saw Mary's gleeful
Paper
reaction to
trail
Brian
is
being
the
taken
most
out of his
tell
family's
all.
home in a casket, he knew that she was to be locked up indefinitely. Mary served 12 years in jail and was released at 23. She's now living in England under a fake name.
Wow. The youngest killer in Saudi Arabia.
One of the youngest killers in history, a 4-year-old boy from Saudi Arabia allegedly gunned down his father with his dad's own pistol when he found out his parents weren't buying him a PlayStation. The dad was apparently undressing and put the weapon down
You
for a
gotta
brief
be
moment
kidding
when the
me.
kid picked it up and started firing. Saudi Arabia has dubbed this kid the country's youngest killer. This might be a warning for parents to hold off buying your kids video games, because it could potentially lead to them reenacting that
Yeah.
behavior, especially when that game contains violence.
Teenage Utah
A
killer.
15-year-old from Utah allegedly killed his 2 younger brothers with a knife. The boy had a history of acting out. He ran away from home for about a year. Despite his troubled disposition, neighbors of the family claimed that his parents were very loving and attentive. The family had adopted 2 children into the family, and these were the 2 brothers who were eventually killed. The bodies of the victims were found on the floor of the family home when the mom and dad were returning from a dance recital. The teen was found miles away from the house, where he was eventually arrested and taken into custody by the police. What's odd about the case is that the perpetrator wasn't raised in a poor family or abusive household. Something inside him just snapped. So there you go, our top 10 child criminals. I can't
Wow.
believe some of these people are out in this world, walking around out there. Spooky.
Exactly. Yo, the fact that these kids were released, and I don't know if they got the proper help that they needed, or if they learned anything. But to let them go free not not even take it to the fact that the same episode no, can happen twice. Like, you really don't think about that before you put these kids, well, former kids, back out into the world after receiving said punishment. This generation. Whew. I really don't know what else to say about this. This world is just beyond gonzo. And these kids, these kids, whew, no words, no words. But let me know what y'all thought about this one. And as always, thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this one. And don't forget to tell your peoples across the globe. Come kick it with your boy just one good solid time. Like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share. And hit your boy up on social media right over yonder. Now this here's your boy Blaze here saying Chuck the Deuce. And I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.